To stop working. Welcome everyone to our Science Cafe with the Atlanta Botanical Gardens Conservation and Research Department for the month of February. We're really excited to introduce all the way from Colombia, Dr. Marcela Serna Gonzalez. She will be presenting on her conservation efforts with Colombian Magnolias. Just a few reminders before we get started. Just want to let everyone know that they are muted, and also your videos are turned off. So if you could just keep yourself muted. That doesn't mean we don't want you to participate though. We've got a question and answer feature. So feel free to use that. It's at the bottom of your screen and it says Q&A, so you can just click on that and ask any questions. We prefer that you use that as opposed to the chat to answer questions. So just feel free to use that Q&A section there at the bottom. I guess the only other thing I want to talk about is we will be recording this and we're going to actually post this on our Science Cafe website. At the end of the talk, we'll have a link for that for you all to see if you want to listen to this or encourage friends to listen to it later on. So again, just want to introduce Dr. Marcela Serna Gonzalez. Just a little bit about her bio. She is a forest engineer who received her master's in forestry and environmental conservation and a PhD in ecology from the National University of Colombia. She was a researcher at the Medellin Botanical Garden from 1999 to 2005. Currently, she is a professor of botany at the Antioquia Institute of Technology in Medellin, Colombia. She has been a lifetime member of the Magnolia Society International since 2014 and is also a member of the Asociación Colombiana de Botánica and the Asociación Latinoamericana de Botánica and the Association for Tropical Biology and Conservation. So without further ado, Marcela, if you're ready, I'm going to give you the floor.
Thank you, Ian. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Marcela.
Are you looking at my presentation?
No, we don't see your presentation yet.
See my slides, right?
No. Oh, there they are.
Maybe not. Let's see. And now, you see it?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay.
Looks good.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to this great event. So, well, you must know that Colombia is the second country with most biodiversity around the world. This is the advertising from the government. And you know that we are the second country with most biodiversity of plants around the world after Brazil, right? We are the first one in birds and orchids, and the third one in palms and reptiles, and the sixth one in mammals. Well, I like this picture because we have this kind of contest of orchids. It is international, and people present their most beautiful hybrids here in Colombia, but also many Asian people come here to participate in this contest. It's in August every year, except last year because of COVID, but it's a great opportunity to come here. Well, why we are so biodiverse? Well, because we have these kind of different conditions. For instance, elevation from 0 to more than 5,000 meters above the sea level. Rain is also different characteristic in all the territory. So we have this region. It is the most rainy region in Colombia, and we have places, very rainy places, maybe one of the most places with rain every single day. We can get up to 13,000 millimeters every year, and also dry places like the Atlantic coast. And finally, magnolias, right? We have 39 species described so far, and most of them are distributed in the Andean region. You know that the Andes is split into 3 mountain ranges in Colombia: the Western, Central, and Eastern Cordilleras. And we have there 29 species. In this region of Chocó Magdalena, which is kind of lowland forests, we have 9 species. And in the Amazon region, we have now 2 species, but I expect that we could have maybe 4. Well, we have several ecosystems and with some contrast. So the Atlantic coast, which is very dry, and the Cauca River, the Cauca River Valley is also very dry, and the distribution is from 0 to 1,000 meters. Those are examples of tropical wet forests like Mutata and Leticia in the Amazon region, with flooded forests in some months of the year. Well, pre-montane forest is a kind of forest that we find from 1,000 to 2,000 meters of altitude. And this is for excellence, the coffee region. You know that the best quality of coffee is produced in this kind of altitude, right? And also in the Andean region, we have this mountain forest from 2,000 to 3,000 meters above the sea level. This is the Cocora Valley in Quindío, in which we find wax palm, Ceroxylum quindioense, which is vulnerable. Paramo is another beautiful ecosystem, and it is restricted to Colombia and maybe Ecuador. It's very particular. It's kind of tundra. And we have this species of Speletia. Speletia is a genus with more than 45 species here, and most of 50% of this group is endangered. Well, why we know a little bit more of Magnolias than other groups? Because this group was chosen as a priority group in Colombia. Why? Because they have a wide distribution around the world. We have a taxonomy well known. The species most of them are endangered, and they are economically important. Another objective of the National Strategy for Plant Conservation was to evaluate the cooperation among institutions. Well, Dr. Gustavo Lozano, he unfortunately died in 2000, but his contribution was enormous. In 1983, he published Magnolias E for Colombia, and in 1994, Magnolias E for the Neotropics with 45 species. Now we know that we have more than 150 species, maybe the same quantity of China. Well, In 2001, when the National Strategy for Plant Conservation was published, we started to work on Antioquia, on Magnolias from Antioquia province. And from 2001 to 2004, in Medellin Botanical Garden, we found 14 species and we published this booklet, Magnolias de Antioquia. Well, in 2007, with Humboldt Institute, we could publish the information of the 33 Colombian species, 32 are endangered, and one with data deficient. And we contributed with this red list of Colombian species. Well, despite this great work by Dr. Lozano, we have found more new species, like this article in 2009, and we are publishing about that time 2 new species, Magnolia coronata and Magnolia dinensis. But also we had the first record of Magnolia chimantensis, first published and recorded from Venezuela. But now we know that this one was a mistake. Well, in 2016, we were the first country in Latin America with most species. Now we know that it maybe is Mexico, but Colombia could be the first one in South America with most species. In 2017, Magnolia Dinensis was published as a new species from Ecuador, but also from Colombia. And then in 2018, 2 new species were published for Colombia, Magnolia resupinatifolia in Santander province, and Magnolia betuliensis. That is why I told you that Magnolia chimantensis was a mistake, because this species was not Magnolia chimantensis, but a new species, Magnolia betuliensis. So we don't have Magnolia chimantensis in Colombia. In 2019, we published 2 new records for Colombia, Magnolia gloriensis, described just in Panama, but now found in Colombia, and Magnolia venezuelensis from Venezuela, but now in Colombia as well. And this new species, Magnolia frontinoensis. You would think why we are using these names. So this is a nice strategy. I'm going to tell you about this later. Well, you know that Magnoliaceae has 2 subfamilies well recognized, Liriodendroideae, with 2 species, Liriodendron tulipifera and Liriodendron chinense. And Magnolioideae has been very controversial, from 1 to 13 genera. Well, the latest proposal is just recognizing only 1 genus, Magnolia. So according to this, we would have maybe 2 sections in South America, Talauma and Esplendentes. Esplendentes would include Esplendentes group and Dugandiodendron group from Colombia. And Chocotalauma was not included in this study published last year, but maybe Chocotalauma could be included in Talauma because they are very similar. I'm going to show you very fast in order to show you the morphology of these groups. So Talauma has stipules adnate to the petiole. On the petiole, they leave a scar, and maybe in Chocotalauma as well. But in Dugandiodendron, there is a stipule también. Well, as well, they have a stipule and they leave a scar on the stem, but the petiole doesn't have any scar, right? Also, another difference is that there is a connective on the stamens for Dugandodendron, but this connective is exclusive of Splendentes. So you can find this connective in Dugandodendron and also in Splendentes that include this species from the West Indies. In Talauma and in Chocotalama, you won't find any connective. Let's see some pictures of that. So this is the scar on the stem. Every single magnolia has that one. This is the stipule, but some of them have this kind of scar on the petiole. Very usual in Talauma and maybe in Chocotalauma, but not present in Dugandodendron. So the stipules are free from the petiole, okay? Also the connective on the stamens, right? So they are just exclusive of Dugandodendron here in Colombia. And you see that in Talauma, we don't have any connective, right? The fruit is also informative. The outer external wall of the carpels is fused in Chocotalama and Talauma, but free in Dugandodendron. What I mean is that every single carpel can fall down in irregular masses. So in Chocotalama, we see free stipules. I mean, we don't see any scar on the petiole, or maybe partially, maybe some scar small. And we don't have any connective on the stamens. Well, you must know that magnolias are bisexual flowers, and they are the flowers use the system dichogamy to avoid self-pollination. And in magnolias, in Colombian magnolias, all flowers are protogynous. So first are functional as female and afterwards as male, right? And also we have two different hours, let's say so. So we have protogynous flowers, which open twice during 2 consecutive days, and Dugandodendron flowers, it seems that they open diurnally during the day around 5 a.m. and those Talauma flowers open around maybe 4 or 5 p.m. So look at here the stingy stigmas ready to receive the pollen grains, but at the same time the stamens are immature, right? Well, we have found nice, beautiful things in our Colombian flowers like this. So they start to open around 2 very slowly, and this is around 4, 5 p.m. They start to arrive little flies, maybe attracted by the floral scents. But the pollinator, the effective pollinator is this beetle in this species, Magnolia Dinensis. But we know that maybe they have a high specialization of pollinators as they have specific rewards like thermogenic flowers, abundant pollen, floral scents. Well, talking about conservation, you can see how Colombia has many species critically endangered and endangered. And maybe Colombia has more than 50% of the endangered species according to the information offered by the Red List of Magnolias in 2016. So we are a priority of conservation worldwide. But these species are quite difficult to work on. They are very rare and difficult to identify in tropical forests. And definitely they are time demanding. As you see, our forests are green all year and all species are very green. So it's not easy to find it. Maybe Magnolia Dinensis is easy to find because their bright leaves. It's a beautiful tree and maybe is conspicuous versus other species. So it is difficult to find them. Also, they are restricted to a very restricted areas. This is a study that we performed during 2 years in the Urabá region at the north of Antioquia province, near Darien and Panama. And we find there 2 species, Magnolia catiorum and Magnolias ambuensis. Magnolias ambuensis can be found in Panama and maybe in all this area of Darien. Maybe you know this place as Tumbé, Chocó Darien, and you find Magnolias ambuensis in this region. But Magnolia catiorum is exclusive from Mutatá town. It's a small town, and we found only 13 trees. So magnolias usually have a low population density and size and restricted distribution. Well, in Urabá, particularly in this region, we have many threats: deforestation and many crops, banana that we export to several countries, and African palm or oil palm, right? So this African palm is just starting maybe 4 years ago, we start this production in this region, and you can see how beautiful forests have been transformed in this kind of systems. I could say that the species can support disturbance. You see that trees look beautiful, but they are isolated, and this could have several problems. In a study performed in 2005, this student found a high genetic variability in our trees, but high forest fragmentation and no recruitment at all. So the recruitment of this species is low, and the transformation of the forest on this different landscape causes that the distance for pollinators is growing and growing, and maybe pollinators cannot find the trees or cannot fly long distances. And also there is a biodiversity loss of macrobiota, and now we know that the species need this association with mycorrhiza. Usually in Colombia we have poor soils. Some of them are very new and some of them are very old, and also because it is rainy. Usually it rains a lot in the Andes region, and you see these slopes. So the soil is in the rain just washes, I could say that, clean the soils, and just the nutrients are lost, right? Well, this is another thing to be considered. From the moment in which the tree produces floral buds until having a ripe fruit, we would take maybe 6 months. And this has many challenges like this one. The flower is ready to be pollinated, but this kind of larvae is just eating the stigmas. This is the adult of, it seems it's a stenomide. So this is causing a big problem for this species. And this is great. We are fascinated with these kind of relationships. When we describe the species, one character was the little dots that we have seen on the petals, and now we know this. There are some eggs of this fly, Psychoda. So it is nice to see the relationship. I mean, the flower is not affected, but it is kind of a close relationship. This is Magnolia Dinensis, and we are realizing that maybe they have problems for reproduction. Those are pollen grains that with experiments of pollen germination, we realize that it is very low in this species. We don't know what could be happening here. Maybe self-pollination, because you know that the flowers, even though they are protogenous, maybe there is an asynchrony. So in the same tree, we could find feminine or female flowers, but also male flowers as well. So we will need work more on that. Well, another challenge is that several species have small fruits, and that means very few seeds versus many seeds. So it is much easier to work on this kind of species than of this kind of species with small fruits and few seeds. Well, this is a nice thing that we have seen in Mexico. There is an expert of Magnolias either Sergio, which is working on that. It seems that these seeds do not germinate and not baby because the seeds, there is a problem with the seeds, but because of this insect is infecting the seeds with maybe aspergillus or some fungi, right? So we have seen the same kind of insect here in Colombia. So maybe this could be affecting the reproduction of Magnolia jarumalensis. This is another thing to consider. This is a usual size structure, an inverted J form. It is usual to find several seedlings and few adults, but look at this. I mean, in these diametric classes, we don't find many trees. Why? What happened? Well, because they are huge, up to 35 or maybe 40 meters high. So they are very attractive, and the wood is of nice quality. So they even though they are forbidden, they are still sold illegally in local markets. This is a big problem here in Colombia. Maybe 50% of timber in Colombia is illegal, and we have a 10% of deforestation caused by this, by timber illegal traffic. Well, we have more causes that we are going to see. This is the system of natural areas, I mean the government areas for conservation. We have 58 so far. We have many, but this is not enough for our Colombian species. And you see, this is the Andes region, in which we have the Andean region, and we have here 29 Magnolia species, but we don't have many protected areas. And here is the forest cover, and you see this is the Andean region, and we have not forest, I mean just small remnants. Why? Because we live there. This is the best weather to live, but also because of crops, big cities, livestock, and other things. This is the natural parks conservation priorities. So they want to make efforts to protect these areas, but we don't have any magnolia there, right? Another thing to think about is that we do have too many endangered species, not only plants, but also frogs, birds, many groups. But talking only about plants, we do have too many to conserve, right? And we do have just one conservation plan, and it is for cycads. So we do need to work on our national plan conservation for Magnolia CE. Well, Colombia has lost more than 6 million hectares of forest because of deforestation in the last 3 decades. But why this deforestation? Well, we were talking about timber, but also livestock, mining, coca crops, and we must consider as well climate change, because our species usually live in cloud forest, right? So it may be temperature changes, these clouds could change as well. And it seems that low temperatures could be related with flower abortion. So we need to study that. But we have also good things to show you. So this is an effort about trying to work on models to see where the species are distributed to conserve these areas. So we are working on every single magnolia species. And we have a non-profit organization like Salvamontes. So Salvamontes is trying to get land. They are buying land, usually used for livestock, and making efforts for conservation. In this case, we have a Magnolia polypsophila and Magnolia guatapensis. And this is a reserve that belongs to Medellin Botanical Garden, and they have 2 species, Magnolia jaromalensis and Magnolia jardinensis. Well, I was there last weekend and this week, and I wanted to tell you, I live in Medellin, which is the capital of Antioquia province, and I have to take a car about 4 hours to get to Jardin town, and then get 1 more hour by car, and then I am saying that 1 hour by walking, but I took 2 hours by walking to arrive there. So it is quite time demanding, and that is why it's difficult to work on this kind of groups of or plants. Well, I wanted to tell you why we use this kind of names for the species. So this is an example. Magnolia dinensis is a species from Jardin town, and because of the use of Jardin, which is the name of the town, we achieved and we made possible that the tree would be chosen as emblematic tree of the town. So they are protecting this species by law, right? Well, about conservation, Medellin Botanical Garden have been working on reintroduction of Magnolia silviol, which is it has this big fruit with several seeds. It's a beautiful tree and easy to reproduce. And Medellin Botanical Garden has I would say the best ex situ collection of Magnolia CE in Colombia. They have 9 native species, 6 from cloud forest and 9 from lowland forest, and they are growing well. And now Medellin Botanical Garden is performing this project with Franklinian Foundation, which is quite important because thanks to this project, we have found kind of 25 trees of Magnolia jardinensis. And I was trying to get trees of this species during my PhD studies, and I just could work in 2 trees because I had not enough time to look for for more trees, and I needed trees easy to get and to visit periodically. So this is a great effort, and we are happy to say that we are finding more trees and maybe populations. I wanted to show you also a beautiful initiative of Melissa Ayala, who is a biologist from Santander, and she was working with this species, Magnolia resupinatifolia, and with the peasants, they are offering this molinillo, we say so, and we use it to stir hot chocolate. So, well, as I am a member of the Magnolia Society, I want to sell them in the future, in the next meetings that we could have in order to help these people to conserve the species. Well, we are working with some students now with, for instance, Ana Rueda, who is performing a genetic structure of 3 species. We want to work on this interaction of insects and maybe problems for propagation of Magnolia jarumalensis with Salome and Sergio from Mexico. We have a Santiago Posada, who is going to work on phenology and propagation of Magnolia polyipsophila, which is critically endangered. We just have less than 50 trees around the world of this species. And this is the project that I want to perform, but I don't know how, which is the reintroduction of trees, trying to study the effect of mycorrhiza on growth and development. But this is with a student from Tecnológico de Antioquia, Isabel. But what I don't know is, well, maybe I should choose similar sites in order to see if what is the effect of mycorrhiza. But the places have different levels of disturbance. So I am trying to think about how to perform this experiment in a good way. Well, this is another study that I would like to keep working on that. This is Juan Pablo Santa, and he made a great job assessing the pollen loads of pollinators. Look at Magnolia jarumalensis with this beautiful Aleocarini, which is very rare, and we don't know why, because this insect was usually reported in litter, not in flowers. So we want to study more on that and other visitors, floral visitors. So let's see if we can keep working on that. And this project is on hold because of COVID, but we want to work on magnolias from the Amazon region because I think that we could have more species there. Well, this is Emily Coffey that visited us last year in the Colombian Congress of Botany, presenting the Global Conservation Consortium. So we hope we could keep working together. It was a nice opportunity to have her there. And this is about passionate people, many people from everywhere. This is in Latin America. Here we see Alvaro Perez from Ecuador, Frank from Peru, Dr. Vasquez from Mexico, Dr. Berakit from Thailand, and Dr. Kiyoshi Suzuki Azuma from Japan. Here from Dominican Republic, Ramon and Raquel Folgado, who works on cryoconservation, Álvaro Cocoyo from Medellin, and other many people working on that. So this is a picture of my students and many institutions that have helped me somehow to this work. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Marcela. Do you hear me now?
I do hear you, yes.
Okay, good. I don't know what happened earlier. Yeah, we really appreciate your talk. It was so nice, and it was great to see all the beautiful magnolia species of your country. So now, if folks are interested, we'd like to open it up for a question and answer segment. I noticed right now there's only one question there in the Q&A section, but folks feel free to send out any questions you may have, and we'll get going with that. So are you ready for that, Marcela? Okay.
I am reading here.
Okay, and you can see those too if you want to be able to read them as well, but I'll go ahead and read them out.
Okay,
So we have one from Donna Ford Wernz, who asks, what age do the trees attain?
well, it is difficult to study populations, right? Usually the biggest trees are the easiest to find. How many years they have, I have no idea. I just know that maybe they need more than 10 centimeters of diameter to produce flowers and fruits. I mean, to be reproductive, but I do not know how many years they do have. I think that they take too much to grow. I mean, their growth is slow because they have a good quality wood, so they take too long to grow. So it is not easy. I have some seeds, and they would take maybe 1 year to get 10 centimeters tall, something like that. So I don't know.
That's all right. That's a good answer. So we have one from Lauren Esserman. She says, thank you, Marcela. Good to see you. It was a fantastic talk. How many species do you predict to find in the Amazon region?
Well, now we have 2 species reported right now. But for instance, Magnolia amazonica is reported for Peru, Ecuador. So why not? Maybe it's here, but we need to look for that. But the problem is that the Amazon region is quite difficult to study because we don't have highways or roads. So we need to go by water, and it is very expensive, right? So if we want to find magnolias, we need to look for them, because the problem in the Amazon region is that many people study the Amazon region by plants. I mean, they perform permanent plots looking for many species, not focused on one species. And as these species are endangered and very rare, we need to focus on that. So for sure, I think that maybe Magnolia amazonica could be there. And we have Magnolia rimachi and Magnolia lily. And there is another one that I don't remember right now. But for sure, I think that we need just look for that, right?
Sounds like a plan. So this is a question from Matthew Ross. He asks, are the magnolia spoons something that are commonplace in kitchens in Colombia? So I think he called that a molinillo?
Molinillo.
Molinillo. Yeah, so he's asking, are those commonplace in Colombia in kitchens?
Yeah, well, we use molinillos in every house, in every Colombian house. We do have our molinillos. In fact, that picture is from my kitchen. But because we use it every single day, we usually have our breakfast with chocolate, right? And after then our coffee, right? But always we use chocolate. So every house has its own molinillo. So it is a great idea. Melissa is performing a great job because of this pandemic. she is offering the local products, and including, I mean, maybe sugar, palm, or maybe some lettuce and some different products, coffee, but also including that molinillo. So that's great because she's selling this in Colombia, but not outside, not abroad, because it is difficult. So that is why I think that, as usually I try to go to the international Magnolia meetings, maybe I could travel with this artifact and sell them and get some money.
I bet folks would like that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty great. Chocolate for breakfast. I like that.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So this is a question from Jean Linsky. She asks, what is your favorite magnolia?
Well, I don't know, maybe many, but I do love this Magnolia Dinensis because I have seen this relationship with many different insects, like these little flies. It is beautiful. It is quite beautiful, but quite difficult to find. And I don't see many seedlings. So it is such a hard work. The fruit has only 14 seeds or less than that. So it is difficult to work on that. So I think that I just like difficult species. So maybe Magnolia Dinensis and Magnolia Catiorum as well. So now I am trying to get some fellowship with the help of BGCI to work on Magnolia Catiorum as well, because it is critically endangered. 13 trees is almost nothing. So let's see if we can work on that as well.
So we have a question from Jared Walker. He says, this is great. Thanks so much. And his question is, what is the growth rate of these tropical magnolias compared to other trees that grow near them?
It is slow. I mean, the growth is very slow. Well, we have two groups of species. Maybe let me show you one. Let's see if I can find that. For instance, this one. Well, this is the fruit. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see. For instance, this species, could you see the slide?
Mm-hmm.
So this is, we call this species Guanábano de Monte. Guanábano is the name of sour soup, right? And this is Guanábano de Monte, I mean wild sour soup, because it is not edible, right? It is not fleshy. But this kind of magnolias maybe grow faster than others. Maybe Talauma species, and particularly this one, it grows maybe faster. Maybe in 5 years you find a tree like that one. But you know, normally tropical species, and even if they have a good quality of wood, they take too long to grow. That's the thing. And the other thing is that usually they grow on cloud forest with low temperature, so they grow very slowly. That's the thing. That's the problem. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Got a question from Abigail. She asks, she says, thanks for the great talk. Do we know if the beetle pollinator species are rare as well.
Well, this aleocarina is kind of headache. It is difficult to study. We don't have experts. So I contacted the expert. He's Russian, but he's living in Canada, Yankee Masugi. And he is very interested in working on this group because it is rare. He told me that he described some species of aleocarini from Colombia associated to Speletia from the Páramo, from the tundra, the tropical tundra. So it is interesting. That is why I want this student, Juan Pablo, to keep working on that. So it is quite interesting. Maybe Cyclocephala, which is this big beetle, maybe is not very rare. We do know that some species are even pests, but I am not sure. We need to work on that. What I know is that they are so how can I say that? So ancient. They are not good for flying long distances. That's what I know. So we need to work on that as well.
Okay, so we've got a kind of a longer one here. It's from Sarah Hendricks. Have you personally done any work with organizations that are mapping where these magnolias are, or are they just resources that you've used? And she says, basically, are they collaborative mapping initiatives?
Well, this is kind of secret. I don't have very good relationships with Humboldt, but we are in a peace agreement now. I mean, I need to do so. So I am working on maps, on this proposal of biomodels, trying to figure out where the trees are. But I don't, well, we are trying, you know that if you use a model, maybe the species could be everywhere, right? But that's not true. They have, I think that they do have specific requirements, ecological requirements. So if you have if you perform a model to try to find the species, maybe that not work very well. So that is why I am working with this organization, Instituto Humboldt, trying to improve these kind of models for every single species. But it is true that I need more help in mapping the species. So that's an idea as well. I realized that when I was preparing this talk, I didn't have a good map to show you the distribution of the species.
All right. Yeah, we got a lot of questions today. There's some good ones too. This one's from Terry Weirman. They want to know, is the coca farming causing deforestation? Essentially, they're wanting to know that the coca farming that's causing deforestation, if that's because of the illegal drug trade mostly, that's leading to that coca farming.
It is causing deforestation, yes. Yes, it is causing deforestation as any other cultivation, right? Or any other activity, for instance, livestock. But the biggest problem is not the coca per se, but maybe is erosion of glyphosate. I don't know how can I say that, but the government is using glyphosate to control the coca crops, and this is a big deal. This is the biggest deal with coca. Not the cultivation, also the cultivation, but mainly the treatment that the government makes of this problem, because it is a fact that people need to survive, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, this is from Wachena Woodard, and they ask, what do you protect yourself with while you're in the forest? Do you wear long sleeves? Are there any other plants or trees that grow next to the magnolia? Are there any perfumes or use of the plant's floral essence, magnolia soaps?
Oh my God, that's a difficult question.
Yeah.
You know how? Would you repeat
So
for me?
I
I'm
guess
trying to
the first
think
part of the
about.
question was, what do you protect yourself with when you're out in the forest? Like, I guess there, do you use
Well,
lots of DEET or,
well, well, the advantage is that main magnolias are from cloud forest. That means that we don't have snakes,
Oh, cool.
at least very dangerous, right? But if we are in lowland forest, my God, this is a big problem. This is the main threat for us, right? I am also allergic to insects, but that's the price that I have to pay to go to the field. I don't care much. And well, I think that it's not very difficult to work on that. I mean, there is not a big danger, maybe people, but people also are interested on when they start to understand why these species are important, they also are very willing to cooperate with that. But maybe what we need is efforts and more people working on that, because we have so much to do. Well, I forgot the other part of the question.
Well, that was about, let's see. I think it was about, are there nice perfumes from some of the
In the
magnolias?
forest?
Yes, some of the smells you're getting while you're out there.
Well, the smell is a trick that I use to find the trees. Not only the flowers, because the flowers are so high. They are so high, so you cannot perceive the floral scents just when you have the flower near you, right? But if you get leaves, they smell very good. It's kind of sweet, kind of odor of this group, primitive or ancient group like Lauraceae. When you smell the leaves, that's a trick, very important trick. I mean, smell in tropical forest is important. Some plants are just very aromatic, delicious, and other ones that you don't want to smell at all, right? So I use that as well.
So we have a fellow Colombian here. Says hello. It's Danny Gutierrez. Says hello from Medellin. I'm living in Santa Elena. Do you know if we have magnolias here? Great job. And do you know how magnolias get affected by the Colombian conflict?
That's a great question. Well, peace is not good for magnolias. Let me tell you that. Why? Because while we had the war in Colombia, nobody went to the forest. So forests were in a good shape. But now, as there is no guerrilla, so people want to have their own farm, to grow many crops, to have their farm to just go for a while, to have livestock. So it's not a good deal at all. That's a shame, but that's the truth. Because while we were afraid of going to the field, forests looked great, happy without any people there.
Okay, we have a question from Matthew Ross. He asks, if there was one thing we could do to support the preservation of the 13 critically endangered species in Colombia, what could we do?
Well, many things. Maybe we could just talk about where could we start. When in my master's degree, I performed a phylogenetic index for conservation priorities. And the first place was Urabá region. That is why I started to work on Magnolia catiorum and Magnolias ambuensis. Maybe that one is a good start. But as you have seen, we have many things to do, right? So it is just matter to choose what you want to do and think on what the species.
And then, okay, so we have one question here from Alvaro Perez. He asks, or he says, hello, Marcela, nice to see you. And thanks for the excellent talk. My question is about the mycorrhizal relationship with magnolias. How does it work?
Well, that's nice because usually people, well, when we were starting to learn about mycorrhiza, researchers thought that as the magnolia seed is a little bit large, they didn't need any association with mycorrhiza. But we realized that they do. I mean, and it has some morphological characters that show that they do have relationship with mycorrhiza. For instance, magnolia roots are maybe bigger than other species, right? So mycorrhiza, well, I don't know now what they are doing, but for sure, as our soils are so poor, they must use mycorrhiza to survive. So I found two kinds of mycorrhiza, vesicular, arbuscular mycorrhiza, but also dark septate endophytes. So maybe, I don't know, well, this is an interesting topic. I don't know much about it, but I read that this dark septate endophyte gives some grasses bitter taste to cows. So we don't know what could have doing in what we could expect in magnolias, right? But what we know is in this species, Magnolia Dinensis and Magnolia jarumalensis, the soil is too acid, almost 4 or 5 of pH. I mean, it's too acid for growing plants and they survive. So that is why I think they do need mycorrhiza, and that is why I think this is a priority. We need to know what is the role of these microbiota in these trees. The problem is that this kind of experiments is quite challenging, and that is why I want that Emily helps me with the performance of the experiment, because maybe with DNA, because how could we know that if the performance of the tree is because of the mycorrhiza and not because of the bacteria or another microorganisms? So we need maybe DNA or other kind of studies, right? But I do like to do that because we don't know what is the specific role of these microorganisms with mycorrhiza.
See, we've got a good one here from Terry Weirman again. They say, I think the magnolias evolved before flying insects. Is that true of the species you are working with?
I don't think so. I think, well, I think that, I mean, these Coleoptera beetles are so ancient, very ancient. So that is why, for a while, people thought that the first plants in the earth were magnolias, because you see that, well, at least tropical magnolias don't have beautiful colors, just yellowish or greenish, but very nice floral scents to attract beetles, because they are kind of blind, they are just attracted by floral scents. But I do think that the Coleoptera are as primitive as Magnoliaceae.
Well, I'm looking at the time here, Marcela. We're starting to go over, and you've answered a lot of questions. And so I think maybe we should start wrapping things up if that's good for you, because I'm sure we could keep asking you questions all night. But well, again, thank you so much for presenting and answering all your questions. It was a really nice talk. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone else did too. And we have a slide. Let's see, Emily, if you could help get that last slide up, or do you have?
We'll share that last slide and try to add something to the chat.
Oh, okay.
And thank you for this invitation. I really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that too, and maybe you come someday here.
I would love to. That would be amazing.
Thank you.
And we'll have chocolate for breakfast.
Of course, here at home.
So just to show you all, we have this page up. There's just a few things we wanted to go over. For one, if you want to listen to the recording of this, we will get it up on the website. It'll probably take us a week or two to get that up on there, but you will be able to come back and listen to that, and there's a link for that there at the top of the page. Also, we're really excited. Next month, March 18th, Loy Sing-Nguyen, who is going to be our new conservation ecology coordinator, will be presenting. He's actually a PhD candidate at Emory University, who will be doing his defense tomorrow, so I'm sure I'll do great with that. But Loy, his research focuses on factors such as human land use and climate change, and how those affect plant pollinator interactions. So it should be a really fun talk. And somebody put a screen up over our screen there. Okay, there we go. Also, if y'all have any questions or suggestions, always feel free to send me an email. There is my email address, isabo@atlantabg.org. And also feel free to follow us on Instagram at AtlantaBG Conservation. We try to post on there fairly often, and there's some pretty cool, really excellent photography on there. But yeah, I think that's about it. Again, Marcela, thank you so much, and thank you to all of our guests or our participants for attending tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.